Swami is worshipped in the Ashtotam as Subjnana Marga Darshakaya Namaha. He shows you the right path. In fact, when on the 25th of May 1947, he wrote a letter to his brother. Sesham Rajugaru had written a letter to Swami saying that, Sathya, you don't know the world. People are coming and taking you to their places. They are all selfish. Don't get pulled here and there. Don't get fooled. Then Swami wrote a letter which is actually addressed to all those who love me, to all of us. It was actually a blueprint for the avatar. In that Swami says, Akila manavalaku anandamuna gurchi rakshinchu chundute dikshanaku. I have taken a diksha. That I will give happiness to the entire world. Not happiness, ananda to the entire world. Akila manavaluku, it is not this family or that community or that nation, but the entire world. Then the second part, in fact, that is what happens, isn't it? The super specialty hospitals are places which rid you of dis-ease. So they give you happiness back into your life. So, Akila manavaluku anandamuna gurchi rakshinchu chundute dikshanaku. Sanmargamunu veedi cherenchu varula cheipatti kaapadute vratamunaku. Those who stray away from the right path, I hold them by the hand and bring them to the right path. That is what Swami did. That's what Swami has been doing. In all our lives, that is what Swami has been doing. Somebody asked Swami this, Swami, why do you say, I will hold them by the hand and bring them to the right path? Is it not enough if you simply say, see, this is the right path, go along this path? Swami said, two reasons. One thing is, they are blinded by ignorance. So when you show a blind person a path, what do? You hold him by the hand and lead him. The second thing Swami said, the path to the divine is a very narrow path. He said, the path to hell is an expressway. Okay, 6-lane highway, 8-lane highway. Why? Too much traffic that side. But the path leading to heaven is a very narrow path. So I have to hold by the hand and bring you to the right path. And that is how Swami led me to this path. And he gave that Katti Patang, which was my life, direction by tying it to his lotus feet. That became the turning point in my life. And when you pray to the Lord, Raha Dikavo Bhagwan, he shows you the path. In fact, I didn't even pray, but he showed me the path. And the path, of course, is the path of light, the path which leads you to light, the path which will turn you into light. See, that is the beauty. He turns your life itself into a street lamp. Swami used to say those days, I take street dogs and make them street lamps. Okay, take street dogs and make them street lamps. So that is what Swami has done. Okay. So I joined Swami's college in 1974. To be very honest, I have just started. Okay. So I came to Brindavan College, joined for my intermediate course. Now, as I was doing this intermediate course, there are various fears that come into your life. My greatest fear was mathematics. Nothing of it made sense to me. And I used to be very scared of this. There was a professor who had retired from Andhra Pradesh. He came and taught us, Professor Ranganayaklu, a brilliant professor, but it didn't enter my skull. In fact, I decided to shift from the front row to the back row, but give others chance. And always there are people in the class who will shake their head so much that the teacher thinks everyone knows. They will shake on behalf of everyone. So there were some classmates of mine and the teacher had a short sight. So he could see only the front bench. And he thought that we have understood everything. He used to take mathematics class. Finally, the end of the year came. And as the day's mathematics exam is nearing, the blood pressure, temperature, everything is rising. But in those days, the beautiful thing was, before the exam, you can go up to Swami's room and take namaskar. You can straight walk up to Swami's room. When I studied in the hostel, we had just about 65 students. So Swami knew each one of us by name. Not only name, he knew the dress that we used to wear. He will ask, why is that fellow wearing this fellow's shirt? That thoroughly Swami knew. And he would also say, oh, do bhi sariga tisko raleda, he used to say. So Swami knew every one of us, and we could walk into Swami's upstairs anytime. So that day I went, and I told myself, one namaskar, and this can be fixed. So I went there and to take namaskar. As I entered the room, I found that Swami was in Rudrakar. He was very angry. There was a caretaker of Vrindavan Ashram by name Mr. Ram Brahmam. Portly gentleman. And he was a terror for everybody. In fact, from the mandir, if he says watchman, if he says, the watchman will get up and tie a shoelace, wherever he is. But this man in front of Swami is so humble. And Swami was scolding him. Swami was scolding him, I don't know for what. And just at that moment, I entered. And I straight away came into Swami's radar. Swami said, Noora ikkada. He said, come here. So I came. Then he said, you tell me, how much money do you get from home? Simple question. I said, Swami, I get 65 rupees every month. 100 rupees every month. Endukanta, he said, why do you get so much money? Now today 100 rupees, if you give it to a beggar, he'll look somewhat at you. In those days, 100 rupees had some value. I said, Swami, 65 rupees mess bill. I thought I had tided over the difficulty. Swami said, 65 rupees mess bill, he said. I knew the poor warden was trying to raise that from 65 rupees to 70 rupees for months together. And Swami said, nothing doing. Finally, he convinced Swami one day. And he came to the hostel very happy, and he asked for the mic to be arranged. And the AVC boys were arranging. Then somebody came and told, sir, Swami is calling you. So he went back, and Swami asked, Repu em roju, he asked, what is tomorrow? Swami, tomorrow is Ugadi, Swami. Do you want to give boys this bad news on Ugadi day? Swami said, nothing doing, keep it at 65. So for years together, it was 65 rupees. And then what happened? Swami said, okay, 65 rupees. What do you do with the other 35 rupees? Give me an accounts cheppu. I thought mathematics exam, that itself is scary, and he is asking for accounts now. So I said, Swami, haircut. How many times do you have a haircut in a month? He said. Only once. Then I tried hair oil, soap. And Swami asked, how many soaps do you use in a month? Our complexion says it all. So at the end of it, I could manage only about 9 rupees or 10 rupees. In those days, things were cheap. I wish it was like today. You could have said one soap and it would have covered the entire thing. And Swami said, 25 rupees yen chestunnavu? Then he scolded me. Left and right, he scolded me, said, your father is struggling there to earn, and you're wasting money like this? Very bad. Misuse of money is evil, he said. And just at that time, the bell rang for the exam. Now, the next building was the college in those days, next to Mandir. So Swami looked at me and said, exam unda? He asked, do you have exam? I looked at Swami strangely. I said, is it an ordinary exam? They have this advertisement, it's not a car, it's a car, like that. So it's not an exam, it's a mathematics exam. Swami is asking it so lightly. I said, Swami, mathematics exam undi. Avuna, breakfast chesava? He said, did you have breakfast? No, Swami. Go to the hostel, eat your breakfast, and go to the exam, he said. One thing I had learnt, when Swami tells anything, just do it. No questions asked. So I did namaskar, went to the hostel, had my breakfast, and went back to the exam hall. Now, when I went to the exam hall, outside the mathematics teacher was waiting. And he said, Ravi Kumar, what happened? 20 minutes late. I said, sir, big story, sir, I'll tell you afterwards. And he said, yes, just go quickly, otherwise they won't give question paper. If you go after half an hour, they don't give. So I went inside the exam hall, and the question paper was given. I looked at the question paper and wow. I immediately prayed for the welfare of that examiner, whoever set that paper. He had set out of 13 theorems, 8 theorems he had given that year. And theorems, you just get by heart and vomit. So I said, oh, it's very easy. I can finish this. Started writing the first theorem. Somewhere along the line, these mathematicians have the strange habit of putting let x is equal to something. That something I could not remember. What is that something? What is that something? I'm looking at the watch. It's already 1 hour. And first question I have not answered. 8 questions to be answered. So I went to the second question. But my heart was with the first question. So second question also successfully I spoiled. So went to third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8th question I was writing when the final bell rang and the invigilator asked paper like that. I looked at my paper and I thought, this was the thought I looked at the invigilator and said, my gain is your loss. And I gave it to him because the paper was full of debris of fractured theorems. Not one of them was complete. I came out of the exam hall. And the mathematics teacher was standing outside. I was touched. I told him, sir, I am very touched. Yes, why? I said, sir, in no other college, the teacher comes before the student for the exam. You came before me. And you have waited 3 hours. And after 3 hours, you are waiting to find out how I did. How kind of you, sir. I am very moved. He said, no, not like that, Ravi Kumar. Don't jump to conclusions. He said, if you pass, we'll get 100% results. That's why I waited, he said. So I sat with him and I told him, sir, this exam, this question I have answered this much. This question I have answered this much. Told him everything like this and finally told him, sir, will I pass? He took a hanky and wiped his brow. And he said, this paper is written by 40,000 to 50,000 students. We don't know where your paper will go, who will correct. But one thing is sure. If the examiner to whom your paper goes, on that day his wife has not scolded him. He is in a good mood. And his children have not troubled him. He comes there, he may even give you 35 marks. In those days, 35 was the pass mark. So I said, wow. I came back. So there is a chance that I will pass. But that was the last exam. And the whole holidays, inside, I'm so worried. If I fail, what will happen? If I fail, what will happen? Now, luckily at that time, Swami brought me to Dharmakshetra. We had come for a drama, Bhajagovindam drama. It was in the year 1975, May. That was the time when the stupa was inaugurated. The Sarva Dharma Aikya Prema stupa was inaugurated. So, I will come to that a little later. It was a beautiful experience. In fact, that's why when I moved around in Dharmakshetra today, so many memories. So, on the last day, Swami took us for sightseeing. We went all over Bombay with Swami, and Swami showed us various places. If I have time, I'll narrate that. And then, as Swami is getting down from the bus near Juhu, in the night, Swami said, you all go directly, because we were staying at the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan campus, Andheri West. And Swami was coming this side. Swami said, you all go directly. He looked at me and said, no, Puttaparthi ki raah, he said. Come to Puttaparthi. So Swami was coming to Vrindavan and going to Patti immediately. I came to Vrindavan, went to Patti. And we had bhajan that day. After the bhajan, Swami called us all upstairs. When I was a Balvika student, one day Swami had called me for interview. And it's a very long thing, but at the end of it, Swami told me, I'll perform your Upanayanam. So I was very happy. So I was waiting for Swami to perform my Upanayanam, and in my house, I was the eldest son among all my cousins. So my grandfather said, Ravi, please tell Swami that Swami should perform so that the others, there's a long chain waiting, long line, so you tell Swami. So I said, Swami, please perform my Upanayana. Swami said, I'll speak to you in the evening. So in the evening, Swami called me for interview. When Swami called me for interview, Swami asked me, hey, Ravi, nikem kavali, he asked. What do you want? It was, people like Ravana and all had prayed for, done tapas for so many years for the same question. God appears in front of you and asks, what do you want? And then, of course, they have planned for this thing and all. I had also planned whole holidays. Swami asked, Em kavali? I said, Swami, mathematics lo pass kavali, Swami. Yes, sir. For me, at that moment, that was the biggest boon anyone could ask for. Swami, mathematics lo pass kavali, Swami. Swami said, Cha, adayindira, he said, that's over. Where em kavali? What else do you want? I said, I don't want anything. For me, there was nothing beyond that at that moment. 1 month later, the results came. And because we were a small group of students in the hostel, the principal had given our marks card to Swami. Swami would read our marks. He would read our names and give it to us. He said, Ravi Kumar, and gave it to me. The next boy was Santosh. He said, Santosh. I was looking aghast because it's written passed. So Swami looked at me and said, Chusava? He said, did you see? Yes, Swami, I passed. I said, hey, mathematics mark chudu. He said, see the mathematics mark. It was 53. Then Swami tells me, Etla 53 vastundira. How can you get 53? You have written for 35 marks. No, he said. I didn't say this. I didn't tell him at all about it. The teacher had told me, under all those extraordinary circumstances, you'll get 35. Swami said, 35 krasna kada? Etla 53 ochindi? I said, I don't know. You have done something, Swami, I told him. Swami said, yes. Inka mundu baga chadu. Study properly. And Swami said, from now onwards, baga chaduvali. I'll study well, Swami.